Oh my gosh, this is happening. This is so cool. Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Sheketoff. You guys may know me from WICC 600. I do a morning show there for the radio station, and I have become great friends with the Connecticut Beardsley Zoo. I am so incredibly honored to be part of this incredibly special evening and to be with all of you in your living rooms. What are you guys having for dinner? Can I have some? I would love some. That would be great. I want to thank first and foremost our sponsors, because without them, this night would not be possible whatsoever. So I wanted to start off with just listing off all of the amazing people. And yes, there's so many that I want to get to. So I've got my little handy dandy phone here to list it off this evening. So let's start with Bernadette Baldino, Dave Pitney, Claudette and Stephen Kunkus, Liberty Bank and People's United Bank. So thank you all so much for being such a huge part of it. And if you guys are like me and you got that incredible box of goodies, oh my gosh, my son Chase has already eaten the first pack of these cookies. Thank God they sent two because it is incredible. And so many amazing people helped out with those party donation boxes, including Alina's Cakes and Cookies, Bigelow Tea, which is what I am sipping on right now, having some Bigelow Tea for this really kind of chilly evening, a perfect evening to be inside for today. Cabot Cheese, Fascia's Chocolates, Garlic and Herbs, George Lesiw, of course, which we're going to introduce the band coming up. Palmer's Darien, Tito's Handmade Vodka, Trader Joe's, and 90 Plus Sellers. Thank you all so much for being such a huge part of this evening and for making this happen. Let's face it, COVID has been wackadoodle, right? It's been such a weird year for us. And unfortunately, nonprofits have had to take the brunt of COVID and what the pandemic has led to. And we are so blessed that we at least have this capacity that we could still put this incredible event on, the Endangered Species Gala. We're able to do it virtually. And thank you to all of you, first and foremost, for supporting the zoo and for being here this evening. It's going to be an awesome night. Gregg Dancho is going to be here in just a bit to give you a virtual tour of the zoo, see what's going on with our wild animals and all of our friends at the zoo. I will be back in about a half an hour to kind of put Gregg on the spot a little bit and ask him your questions. So you will be able to put your questions through during this evening, and anything you send through, we're going to get to as many we can, and Gregg will be on the spot and answer any questions you may have. And also, I want to let you know throughout there is a silent auction going on. It is live right now, so you can go and check it out. And there's actually a website for it. I think we're going to be putting that up on the screen for people to be able to get into the auction. It is only open until 9 o'clock tonight, so be sure to get in on that. There we go. There it is right there on the screen. Man, shout out to Jessica who put this whole thing together. She's brilliant. I mean, my gosh, it's incredible what she has been able to do. So yes, the silent auction right here on the bottom of your screen. If you want to bid, that is open until 9 o'clock tonight. So be sure to check out what's going on there. I think there was something like an oil painting of one of the animals, which was absolutely beautiful, done by a local artist. So that's just one of the many things. I may or may not have done a sneak peek beforehand, so sorry about that. But there's so many cool things there, and all of the proceeds go right back to the zoo and of course, our animal and their welfare and all of the programs that go on with the zoo. I also, one more thing, I know we want to get to the band because no one wants to hear me talk anymore. I hear you on that one. I also wanted to just let you guys know that this evening, here's our goal, guys. This is what we've got to get done, all right? So we've got to reach $10,000, okay? That is our goal for this year, and we're going to make it happen, right? We're going to make it happen. I'm super pumped. I'm really excited. There's also going to be, oh my gosh, Jessica, you are on it. Look at it right there. There's the URL. That is the link. If you want to go and donate right now to the zoo, go for it. These are going to be available to you if you want to click on them and you want to give. We so appreciate it. And we thank you again for being here tonight. What an incredible evening we have planned for you. So this is the part where I just stop talking because no one really wants to hear me. Everyone wants the live band, basically. So without further ado, I do want to introduce to you tonight George Lesiw, who's on guitar, George Mastrogiannis. I think I said your name right. If I didn't, that's me. I butcher everything. And then, of course, Mike Nunno, who is on the bass this evening. Thanks, you guys, and rock on. See you soon.
information by the famous Charlie Parker.
And once again, I'm George Lesiw. Thank you everyone for tuning in. On bass, we have Mike Nunno for your listening pleasure. George Mastrogiannis on drums. We love you all. And thank you for helping out with the zoo. At the zoo.
original composition by George Lesiw entitled Clarity.
Is this straight, no chaser?
Chicken shack.
All right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. G.
One. Sound good? One, two.
it's Back at the Chicken Shack, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We're gonna play another original composition called Erica.
Sound good?
Yep.
1, 2.
You got one more? Cool. So that was called Erica. It's off my 2012 album release called Clarity. What else we got on the list? We got one more. Whatever you want. Let's do something in 3. Okay. Someday my prince will come. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Greg, Mike, and Greg, you guys were fantastic. It was awesome. And even my 2-year-old was like jamming out. He was loving it. So you guys rock. Thank you so much. Aren't they fantastic, you guys? My gosh, we are so blessed. So, so cool. So let's see. What do we have coming up next? Oh, man. Full screen now. How are we all doing, everybody? I don't know about you, so I'm going to be real. Did I already throw them out? I did, didn't I? So I already ate all the chocolates in the box. I may or may not only have one of these left. It's also good. Are you guys crushing your boxes like I am? Please tell me you are, and I won't feel so bad. So good. So let's see. We're going to go to, of course, Gregg Dancho. My good friend Gregg Dancho, who is always on my show, actually, and of the man behind the scenes and in front of the scenes all over the place. He is the executive director of the Beardsley Zoo, and he's going to actually give us a behind-the-scenes look right now and a little tour of the zoo. So take it away, Gregg.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me on a little bit of a behind-the-scenes tour, a little bit of historical perspective of Connecticut's Beardsley Zoo. We're going to take you on a little tour of the zoo today. We're going to talk a little about things you may not have known about Connecticut's Beardsley Zoo and some of the areas you may not have seen. I know Rika's very excited, so let's take a walk. Now we are down here at our animal care center. This, as part of being members of AZA and accredited members of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, having our own animal care center or vet clinic is vitally important for the health and welfare of our animals here at the zoo. What we're looking at here used to be called Down Below. And the reason we called it Down Below is because it was down below the zoo. We're here. If you look up the hill, the zoo's up there. We are down below. Over time, we knew that we had to have an animal care center. We knew we needed a clinic to take care of our animals. So we were able to get funding from the state of Connecticut to be able to build this wonderful facility you see behind me. And it was really a very, very old section of the zoo, very difficult to get down to for people, especially in the wintertime. And so we were very happy to be able to build this really state-of-the-art facility for our animals here at the zoo. I know a lot of you have not seen it. So why don't we take a look inside? As we enter the building, this side is where all the magic happens. Here we have Jenny over here. Jenny is our veterinary technician. She is the one who does all the work to make sure animals are healthy and happy all the time here. She does a lot of testing on our animals and make sure that the medications are given. So again, a lot of work that to keep our animals healthy comes right from this office here. This is our treatment room where we have our x-ray. And we have our weight areas. And again, if we have animals that need just some care from our veterinarian, just by taking a routine examinations, they come in here. If we have to go into surgery, we do have a surgery room right here that can do a full surgery on any animal we have here at the zoo. Again, very important for the animals here to keep them healthy and happy. We can come down this way. We're looking here, and hello, Sandy. This is our kitchen. Because this is a quarantine station, all the animals that come down here are quarantined for up to 30 days. And this area here is where we prepare the diets. Diets are not prepared in our commissary. They're prepared down here because we want to keep all the pans, all the dishes, all the animal food down here, so there is no cross-contamination up to the main population of animals up at the zoo. We're going now into the animal side. This is where the animals are quarantined while they're kept, when they come into the zoo for 30 days from other facilities, and then come down here for 30 days before they leave us. Again, this is a fail-safe to make sure the animals are healthy when they come in and also when they go out. We're not going to be able to go really into any of these areas right now. They're in quarantine, but we do have, each room is specially designed for different types of animals. This area over here is for reptiles and birds. Each room can kept its own temperature, and also we have a lot of plugs in here just in case we have a lot of tanks with a lot of different reptiles. As we go out the other side of the hospital or the animal care center, this is where our baby tigers were kept. This is where our baby leopards were kept. You may have seen them on our zoo cam while they were growing up. So this room here was specially designed for those critters right now. And right now it's holding a golden lion tamarin, which again will be going up to the zoo very shortly to be introduced to our Geldese monkey. Here we are on our greenhouse lawn. underneath our rose arbors, facing our south side of our greenhouse. Some people actually that are watching this who have been around a long time may actually have seen pictures, wedding pictures, that were taken underneath this area where the arbors are. This was a well-known photography area for many people in the region that came up here to get their wedding pictures taken. Actually, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they've had their wedding pictures taken out underneath these arbors also. So again, very historical for the zoo, and something that we've brought back with these new hooped arches. The greenhouse area is one of the oldest structures here at the zoo. This area was built prior to the zoo's operation, and after many years, it started to deteriorate. So we were able to get a benefactor, which was Betty Freem, who gave us money to construct our new side of our greenhouse. And this way we can use volunteers, we can use groups here, we can use it for many different types of things. We've had weddings inside, we've had birthday parties inside, we've had education programs inside, and it's become a very, very well-known area for the zoo and very well used for what we use here for conservation and education. The north side of the greenhouse was built in the 60s, and that side houses the majority of our tropical plants and plants that need to be inside. And again, our collection of plants here is the largest in Fairfield County. As we're standing here in this area, you may look over into our sensory garden. This sensory garden was created for people to come out, basically as a place you can come back and sit and have a little tranquil area here at the zoo. It's also been a place of wonder because we have hummingbirds here. As a pollinator area, we have bees and butterflies that come through this area. So again, one of those hidden gems in the zoo that you may not have seen. So again, if you come back to visit the zoo, make sure you visit our sensory garden. As we continue our tour, we are now at the entry of our new farmyard area while we're waiting for our lower farmyard to finish with its renovations. One of the interesting things about this area right here is that for many, many years, where I'm standing right now was the road that exited the Beardsley Zoo. So we used to go park our car here, visit the zoo, ride on the little springy rides over the old farmyard that was down there, get in the car, drive down into the park, and then feed the ducks, which we frown upon right now. But when I was a kid, we used to feed the ducks down there, and we used to do that every Sunday. Right now, we have our new farmyard up here. We have our goats and our horses, our owls and our raptors, and our chickens are up here right now. And we're really excited we're able to open this up for the public this past year. And as we work toward getting the lower farmyard completed, we'll have a really wonderful area for our kids to come up here and our guests to come up here to see a farm in a very urban setting here in Bridgeport. Very excited about that. We're inside our new commissary area. This is where all of our animal diets are prepared. As you can see behind me, our diet board's behind me. The utensils for all the animal care personnel are here to prepare diets for all the animals here at the zoo. Like I mentioned before, in our clinic, those diets are prepared down there. But up here, all of the diets are prepared for the animals basically in this area. This is a new area for us. Our old kitchen, zoo kitchen, was much smaller, much more confined, a lot harder for animal care providers to prepare their diets. Now we have this large open area here. We also have space to store lots more food up right where the animals care providers can get to it. All of our diets are prepared under the direction of our veterinarian and our animal curators, and are given information to them by our animal care providers to making sure that all our animals are being fed the best produce they possibly can. A lot of people don't realize that the food we serve our animals here at the zoo comes directly from the suppliers. This is not something that we're getting secondhand. This is all first-rate produce that we're giving to all of our animals here at the zoo, and we're very proud of that. If we take a look over here, this is a brand new, I get proud of this because I remember, getting my back workout every time we get the meat delivery came in. Now, the meat delivery comes in, it comes right to the door, our freezer units are up at the same level, and we're able to put all of our produce right here without having no muss, no fuss. A lot better for our staff being able to put the produce right where it belongs, right where they need it. We are now here at our wolf area, wolf observation learning facility. But years ago, this area was our gray wolves. We had gray wolves here for many, 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 many years. And we really, the way you viewed them was just through the chain link. Now, we have built this wonderful facility, the Wolf Observation Learning Facility, where you can go inside, view the animals through plate glass windows, get to see them up close and personal, such as our Mexican wolves here. And over time, we went from gray wolves and brought in red wolves, and we brought in Mexican wolves, Mexican gray wolves. These animals are one of the most endangered species of canines on the planet right now. Red wolves were extinct in the wild. Mexican wolves actually are pretty much extinct in their native land. And right now, Connecticut Zoo is working very, very hard to have offspring from these animals potentially going back to the wild. We've had actually births here from red wolves that have gone back to the wild, and we're mighty proud of that. Welcome to our carousel building. This is a lot of birthday parties are held here. A lot of memories are held here or made here. What's better for a visit to the zoo than a ride in a carousel? This is something that was not here all the time. This was an area that we used to call Lookout Point. Lookout Point was the highest point in the zoo. It was an area that the pathways came up and kind of made a circle here where the carousel is now. It was a parking area. When the zoo did not have perimeter gates on, people would come here and park at night to look at the stars. Sights over Bridgeport to Long Island Sound, a really pretty place. Over time, the carousel at Pleasure Beach was deteriorating, and it was looked at for some place to move the carousel to. I remember standing actually here with Mayor Mandanisi, who said that he would love to have the carousel from Pleasure Beach placed right here on this site. And we looked at that and said, how would he do that? He was looking at getting a sky crane from Sikorsky's that actually pick up the entire unit and bring it up out Long Island Sound, up the Paquonic River to this site. Really was a great idea. Never really happened. Many years later, we were able to build this wonderful building here on Lookout Point. It's much larger than most carousel buildings because we want to be able to use it for birthday parties and weddings and have a place where people can get in and out of the weather, especially in the wintertime, and to have a really nice carousel. This is the second rendition of our carousel here at the zoo. This is an endangered species carousel built in Ohio. All the animals in the outside ring that are animals are wood carved. So these are wood carved animals. These are not fiberglass animals. We're really, again, proud of that situation, that we're able to have people sitting on a wooden ride, especially having animals that are endangered species on the ride itself. If we look really closely, we do have all of the animals from the old Pleasure Beach carousel ride here at the zoo. These are the only things at the zoo that do not belong to the Connecticut Zoological Society. These still belong to the people of the city of Bridgeport. We're just keeping them safe here for the city. We take a quick walk over to them. This is not the entire collection, but the majority of the collection from Pleasure Beach. These are all Carmel and Ilian horses. Carmel and Ilians were the preemptive carvers of carousel horses back in the day. These are all hand carved, no metal inside them, all pegged together. One of the most interesting things I think about these horses is that the tails are actually all horse tails. So these actually have all horse tails on them. They're also all ornately designed on the right-hand side, one side of the ride, because if you think about it, the horse on the right-hand side, that's the only side you ever see. So the side that faces the guests is the side that's carved the most. If you ever come a chance to come up here and take a look at the ride again, take a look on the back side of them. You'll see that they're not carved very well. They spent most of their time where people could see them. Also, really quickly, you may also see this ride right here has its tongue hanging out. Why does it have its tongue hanging out? Well, it's because it's tired from going around and around in a circle. Not really. The prevailing knowledge of that is when these animals were carved, the carvers really they weren't getting paid a lot. So as a punishment, the carvers would have their tongue sticking out as actually a na to the people they were selling the horses to. So just another little interesting fact here at Connecticut's Beardsley Zoo. stay tuned, be able to ask questions between me and Melissa about all the things you saw, maybe even a little bit more. We look forward to talking with you, and thank you so very much for your support to Connecticut's Beardsley Zoo.
So, Greg, I had no idea about the tongue sticking out thing. That's hysterical.
The little tidbits that we're able to tell people, Melissa. Little tidbits we're able
Love
to give.
it.
What happens when you're working at the place for so many years? You get these little bit of information. Not a lot of information. Again, I got a lot of information, not enough to actually do a lot with, but at least there's a little bit of information.
I think you're cool. Now, Greg, I am going to put you on the spot a little bit. How many years have you been with the zoo?
Well, I started as a volunteer back in 1975 from Bunnell High School. I was actually looking to work at a zoo, as was mentioned in the film, or that, again, I have to thank Jen and Justin so very much for putting that together and editing that. They did a tremendous job for that, and I really thank them. But back in 1975, I used to come to the zoo, as I mentioned, as a kid. I was 1 year old. We had a family of 7 kids in the family, and we would go to the zoo almost every Sunday. And so I had been going to the zoo since 1 year old. And so when I was in high school, I really was interested in animals. I really wanted to go work at the zoo. I went there, talked to the then director. The then director said, we don't have any volunteer programs at all, period. So I went back to high school, back to Bunnell, and said, if I can get credit for going to the zoo, would that be okay? And they said, sure. I went back and I started volunteering in 75. 76, I was able to get a job in the Connecticut Zoological Society, working in the farmyard, which again is one of the reasons why I'm real excited about the new farmyard getting done, because basically that was my first job at the zoo. And in 1980, became a full-time zoo professional, zookeeper, and 1983 became the director. So it's been many years. So you can kind of do the math. Full-time at the zoo, 40 years.
40 years, yeah. Wow.
Volunteer time in it.
That's amazing, though. So you like the zoo?
Yeah, I do like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun place. I
Do you
hope everyone
think
enjoyed that
do you
video.
think
It was fun putting it together.
Do you think you know everything about the zoo, though? Because, like, I'm going to allow anyone to ask any questions right now regarding the zoo, obviously, and animals and all that. Do you feel like you've got this?
There's an old saying at the zoo: if you don't know the answer, then say you don't know the answer. That's what our educators are all told. Please, if you don't know the answer, just say, well, I really don't know the answer. I'll get back to you on that. But then there's also some people have said to me, as I see a hawk flying by the car on the Merritt Parkway doing 60 miles an hour, and I say, well, that's a red-tailed hawk. And they say, how do you know? I said, prove me wrong.
There you go. All right. You're ready to go. And that's, oh my gosh, they're already coming in right now. This is so cool. I just want to shout out again to Jessica, who got this all set up. It's unbelievable. So we're just starting to get questions in. Before we go to questions, though, I do want to just give a quick heads up. I want to remind people it is just after 7 o'clock. So go to the auction. That is only open until 9 o'clock this evening. So be sure to do that. There she goes, Jessica. Crushing it. There's the auction right there. If you want to click on that, go and bid. There are some amazing items. I just went and looked myself, and I just put a bid in for the Thanksgiving basket, just saying. So yeah, outbid me if you want to, but if not, I definitely need something to eat on Thanksgiving. But go check that out. I also wanted to let people know that as a thank you, because without you guys, the zoo would not be where it is today without your donations. So anyone who donates at least $100 or more tonight, there's actually going to be this really neat plaque, a new sign at the zoo. It's going to be titled Endangered Species Heroes. Your name will be added to that plaque. So if you donate at least $100, your name will be on that plaque. So that is the first thing. The second thing is if you give $200 or $50 or more, you can get the zoo's animal sponsorship box. So that's another really cool thing. You'll see it on the silent auction. So again, $250 or more, you'll get the box, which I have been enjoying immensely. I was just telling everybody, Greg, that I am down to one more cookie, which is amazing. It's so good. I've already eaten all the chocolates. Chase ate all the crackers. I am sipping on my beautiful, it's water for now. After Chase goes to bed, though, we'll
like
switch
I said, I think I just mentioned, Melissa, if you know, whatever you say, prove it's wrong.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So you don't really know. Yeah. So again, if you guys want to check that out, go for it. And yeah, the links are going to be at the bottom of the screen if you need it all throughout the show. So let's go to the first question. We have Andrew who just wrote in and said, Greg, what's your favorite animal? That's hard.
That's a hard question. And
Yeah.
I think we actually touched upon that once on your show.
I did. I put you on the spot.
Well, and because it's difficult, because I started out working at the zoo wanting to be a herpetologist. When I grew up in Stratford, we lived on a 7-acre farm that had many ponds and streams and woodlands and trees. And every day after school, I would go out into the woods and kind of just be in the woods and turn over rocks. And I'd bring snakes home all the time to the house. My mother was not very happy with that. She really wasn't a fan of snakes. As a matter of fact, I think there's some snakes still at the old house, probably, well, not the live snakes, but there's probably bodies still in the house someplace with ones that got away. But I started out, Ronnie really was into reptiles, amphibians, being a herpetologist. And as I was working at the zoo, you start to look at different things. And really, I started to really enjoy working with the large cats. So the tigers became really one of my favorite animals at the zoo. And I was fortunate enough to be there as one of the predator keepers on the day that we had our first ever tiger cub born at Connecticut Beardsley Zoo. First ever tiger cub born, first tiger cub ever born in Connecticut. So it was a proud day. And it kind of, again, if you're gonna push me on it, tiger's probably be my favorite animal right now at the zoo.
Okay. That's that. I mean, that's not a bad choice, you know?
No, not really. No.
Would you, I was going to say, just based on your answer there, what, when you were saying that the first tiger cubs were born, just out of curiosity, would you say, I'm going to up the ante and say, what was your favorite moment of being the director? Like, what would you say is like one of the highlights of being the director that stands out to you? Yeah. Boom. Say that one.
That is very difficult. There's just so many things. And again, it's not me doing that. It's a lot of it has to do with staff, our very professional staff that does all the hard work. So when you have a first-time tiger birth or a first-time maned wolf birth, which is where we're talking about today, having maned wolves, first time ever born at the zoo, or Amber leopards born at the zoo, these are all very proud things for me. One of the things I think I'm most proud about is being accredited by AZA, getting accreditation. We're only 220 zoos accredited approximately in the country that are accredited by AZA. So out of 3,000 places in the United States that can call themselves a zoo by a license, you can only have about 220 that are actually accredited. So again, that's probably one of my proudest things. And then all the improvements over the zoo over the many years, getting funds and getting support by the local government, by the state of Connecticut, by private donors. These are the things that make my heart really feel good about the people giving us that support here at Connecticut Beardsley Zoo.
I love that. Again, if you have any questions for Greg, send them on in. We're taking live questions right now. Anything you have for Greg. Let's see. D is writing in. D Thomas, thanks for being here tonight, D. Can you elaborate on releasing animals like the red wolves into the natural habitat? Good question.
Yeah. As we're again a collaborative effort, we again mentioned accreditation. Accreditation means we are part of kind of an elite group of zoos that have gone through the accreditation process. By being an accredited member of AZA, you're able to work with very endangered species like the red wolf. That, in cooperation with Fish and Wildlife, we were able to have throughout the zoo world, we were able to have births go on. And there was a program that the Federal Fish and Wildlife put together from South Carolina and Georgia to release red wolves back to the wild. They had protections, and so to get them back. So this is a cooperative effort to get baby red wolves, which right now we do have a recommendation to have red wolf puppies. It's a recommendation, doesn't mean that's actually going to happen, but we have to make sure Kawani and Peanut know that's what's expected of them. But that being said, by their recommendation first, then you have pups born, then animals then could be placed on the list to get put back in the wild. Now that program has kind of slowed up right now. There is not a release program going on as we speak, but during the last few years, that those protections have been kind of removed. And as they've been removed, the animals in the wild have kind of gone down. So we expect that to happen again. So these animals would then be sent from our zoo as pups or young animals to the places in South Carolina and Georgia. They would be placed in areas where they're not going to be put again with other people. So they're not being seen by people anymore. They're not being seen by animal care providers. Food items such as deer are placed in the pens. So they learn how to scavenge, get food. And then eventually those pens are opened up. The animals wander out. They wander farther afield. They come back for food. The food then is taken away from them. They come back a few times, and then they go out into the field and basically are on their own. For many years, we actually had collars around them. They still do have transmitting collars that they can track the animals, making sure they don't get in trouble. Because these places that the animals are put back in is the wild, quote unquote wild, but not necessarily where there's no humans. So they have to make sure the animals were not getting to some place where they can get into trouble.
Is it hard for you to say goodbye to the animals? I would think. Like, I know that they're not pets, obviously. That's the most ridiculous thing. Like, obviously, they're wild animals. But I have to imagine, Greg, you get super attached to them. And then to see them go, like, you're happy for them, but it's kind of like a proud dad sending a kid off to college, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And animals that are released to the wild, again, there's definitely, it's a person that works in the zoo's dream is to have these released back to the wild. We just had some condors that were released back to the wild in Colombia. And that, again, tremendous to have animals that we took care of to be able to go back and be released into the wild is tremendous feeling. So yeah, we're sorry to see them go, but the zoo is there for a larger purpose. Our larger purpose is to keep these animals on the planet and to keep them going for future generations. So if they have to go to a place where they can get where they can keep that propagation going and keep those animals in the wild, then that's the best thing a zoo person can have.
Yeah, I'd imagine. If anybody has questions for Greg, we are going to take just a couple of more, and then we're going to turn things over. Let's see. Andrew has another question. What do you think? What did you think about when you found out you became director? Let me see if I could read this correctly. What did he think when he found out he became director? What did you think when you became the director?
That's a
Take us to that day.
Yeah, well, that's again, for those, we have some staff people that have been with us an awful long time, and I'm so proud of the people that have been with us for so many years, and the new people also that have been with us. That when the zoo at that juncture was really on the cusp of being either open or closed. And so when I became the acting director back in 1983, really the job was we're going to stay open or we're going to close. Really, it was that kind of simple. And so when I found that I was going to be, doing that, it really was very daunting because we had older exhibits, we had older areas, we had cages back then. I mean, I'm not going to say cages now, but we had cages back then. We had areas that were deteriorating. We had places that really needed a lot of help. And if we were not able to move that forward to improve those conditions, then really the best thing would have been to close. So that my job at that point was we're going to stay open, we're going to stay closed. And luckily enough, we had support from the state of Connecticut, the city of Bridgeport, and again, we had some funding brought to us that kind of turned the corner. And I think it was a good thing that the zoo stayed open myself. But again, that was, what did I think when we first found out? I thought we had a long road to go and we needed support and we needed it right away. And luckily enough, we got it within a few years.
And what's amazing, Greg, is, in the beginning of this, we were talking about how you've been doing this for 40 years, which is incredible, like such an amazing milestone and something that honestly most people can't say they've been able to do. But also, the zoo turned 100, which is amazing. So do you feel like you've seen tremendous growth? Like you were saying, when you came in 40 years ago, it was totally different than what you're seeing now. And at 100, are you proud of where the zoo has gotten?
I'm very proud of where the zoo has gotten. I think that a tremendous amount of improvements have been made. Am I happy with it? I think we can still do better. I think the zoo has a ways to go. Our 100th anniversary is actually in 2022. So we have a couple of years. We have some improvements we'd like to see occur before that happens, such as renovations to our tiger habitat. Again, going back to my history, I want to see that happen because that was where I saw our first tiger were born. Our farmyard renovations, the lower farmyard, or the original farmyard renovation completed. Again, that was where I got my first job. I'd like to see that completed also. And bringing back Andean bears. We're working right now with the city and contractor to start construction on the Andean bear project either this fall or in early spring. So these three projects are going to be moving the zoo into another area. As you come around the zoo now, you notice a lot of the newer habitats like the spider monkey and the red panda. We're building that to where the animals have free choice. They can go inside or outside if they want to. But again, what's nice about that is our guests can also see them inside or outside if where they're located. So as we're doing these improvements, I really feel that we are going to be evolutionary processes as we go through. That's something I've seen since day one, 40 years ago. The zoo world is totally different than it was 40 years ago. We don't have enough time to go into all of that, but yeah, I've seen the progression of what professional zoos are, and you kind of get a picture of where professional zoos are going to be in the next 10, 15 years or 20 years. So again, yeah, we're going to completely continue to evolve and do the best for, again, our animals, our staff, and our guests. And we can put that in any area where you want to put it. But those are the three things that are the most important for the zoo. We want to make sure that we do the best thing for our animals, our staff, and our guests.
Love that. I know I saw a question from Margaret pop up here. Margaret said she's a big fan of the American alligator exhibit. And she said, as I recall, it used to be a pool for seals, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, it was for sea lions. That's going back again, one of my first jobs at the zoo when I moved over to the quote unquote predator area was to work with the sea lions. I had a few staff people over there with me, Gene Eucanez, who worked with me back then, and a lot of other staffers. We had sea lions in there. We had some real characters. We had Alfie, which was a sea lion that came from the Steel Pier in Atlantic City. It was a trained sea lion, came to us. Pretty spectacular when nobody there was really animal trainers. We really were trainer animals. We really don't train. We train our animals now, behavioral training, but we really didn't do show training. This Alfie came in as a show trained animal. So the first day you get in there and you walk up to feed him and he does a handstand in front of you. It kind of throws you for a loop a bit. Comes up to give you a kiss. Again, was kind of unexpected. We didn't even have dinner at that point. So a lot of things that he was doing were pretty cool. And then Sassy was the female sea lion that we had. And it was interesting that she was not trained at all. She came from a rehab center in California. And she was basically came from a place was holding a lot of sea lions. But she actually learned from Alfie. One day I was sitting there, was feeding Alfie, because what you do is you feed them individually to make sure that each one's getting their allotted diet. And I got hit in the head with a Frisbee that we had in the pool. And it just smacked me right in the head. And I turned around and looked at Sassy, and she's the only one in the pool because Alfie's sitting right in front of me. And so she had learned from Alfie how to throw the Frisbee because she wanted some food too. So right in the temple. So that was, she learned from Alfie. So yeah, we did have sea lions in that area. Over, again, the big thing here is, again, being the care and welfare of our animals at the zoo. That pool was really not adequate for sea lions or pinnipeds or marine mammals. Was just not adequate. The filtration was not adequate. The depth was not adequate. The size was not adequate. So at one point, we decided it was having sea lions at the zoo was not fair for them, and it really wasn't fair for us to have them at the zoo. So we did change it over. There was pelicans in there for a while, and then we had somebody come in and we created an alligator habitat for them, and so that's where it is now.
Very cool. Wow, Sassy. It's like a perfect name for throwing frisbees at people.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have a question about the tiger exhibit. Is the new tiger exhibit still on schedule with COVID and everything going on?
Well, the tiger habitat was going to be the third on the list. The list was going to have the farmyard. Farmyard was supposed to be open this spring. COVID did shut that down. We are started work on it again. If people come to the zoo, you see there's work being started now on that again. We're trying to get that open for next spring. The bear exhibit was supposed to be way under construction right now to be open next year. That again, COVID put that on the back burner, and so the tiger, being the third on the list, is now gone farther on the list. We are looking to. We have the architect plans. We have design. We are just now putting on hold We have some funding, again, from a very good, very fine benefactor, gave us some funding for that. We need more funding for that to really do the work we're going to do. So we're right now kind of putting that on, not on hiatus. I would like to see that done for our 100th anniversary. But again, we're just taking one step at a time as we get through this pandemic.
Yeah, makes sense. Gwen says, are you getting otters?
Well, we have otters, actually, Gwen. We have our female otter has come in. She's now in quarantine, and will hopefully be in her habitat within the next few weeks. So she's getting used to the area, and we're getting used to her. And we have another otter, a male, coming in from the south, coming from Alexandria. The issue there is Alexandria has been hit by what, 45,000 hurricanes this year.
Yeah, it's a disaster. Yes.
So they have just not been able to move an animal right now. They're just working on cleaning up and cleaning up and then cleaning up and cleaning up. So once they're able to, we'll be moving another otter from there up to the zoo. We'll go into quarantine, as we mentioned, in our animal care center, and then we'll be introduced to our female otter. So we're excited about that. We will have otters in a habitat for this winter and for the next spring.
That's exciting. I didn't know about that. Wyatt says, which animal is the most difficult to take care of? Don't hold back. Tell us the truth.
Me.
Who's your problem child? You.
Me. I'm the most difficult animal to take care of. My staff definitely say that is true. There again, every animal has its nuances. Every animal has. You have to really. Years and years ago, when I first started working as a zookeeper, it really was cut up some diet, throw it in the habitat. Clean up after they finish feeding, clean up after them, and go on day to day. Now we weigh the food. We make sure that they eat what they're allotted supposed to eat. We weigh them. We do medical procedures. We do treatments. We do examinations. So again, we're trying to keep on top of these animals' health and welfare all the time. So each animal has its own peccadillos and how to take care of. I guess one of the hardest ones we have, or not hardest, but one of the most interesting one would probably be our vampire bats. We have a group of male vampire bats that have to have blood. So if anybody out there wants to make a donation, please, you can do it in dollars or no.
We're accepting blood donations as well. So
we have to get blood for that, and it used to be easier, and after COVID, it becomes harder and harder and harder to get that blood. And the blood, not only you're just not getting buckets of blood, it has to be processed, has to be spun down, has to be made so it stays in liquid form, it doesn't coagulate so quickly for the animal. So and then once that's being fed, the byproduct of that is very, very difficult to take off of the enclosure. So
the bat.
Yes, from the bats. So again, if I was going to look at the bats are probably one of the more interesting ones to take care of, and probably one of the more difficult for our staff, because again, each one has to be checked. There's, I think, 10 in the enclosure right now. Who's eating, who's not eating, making sure. So again, in a dark situation. So again, that makes it very difficult. But again, I think we can go through just about every area, and staff could basically answer that question a lot better than I can.
Everyone has their high maintenance things. I'm sure my husband would tell you all of my high maintenance things, which I think I'm fine, but I could probably tell you what, his issues are. Dee says, how do you prepare for the elements? So if you have a blizzard, nor'easters, tropical storms, you told me a great story, Greg, once, which I thought you were going to bring up about your staff, like hiking into the zoo once in like 12 feet of snow or something. I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but this is a great question, Dee. I'm glad you're asking it. How do you prep for the elements?
The 12 feet of snow is when I was a little kid. We went up and down the hill, uphill both ways to get to school. Yeah. No, it's how do we prepare? We train. Actually, we have a really great team at the zoo. There's our safety committee, and we do drills every year, which prepares for blizzards, medical emergencies, animal escapes. All these are drilled with staff. And so we have a book that shows how to prepare for this. Most of the areas at the zoo, especially for these big storms like blizzards and nor'easters and tropical storms, hurricanes and the like, and tornadoes now that we have in Connecticut. We do have areas that the animals can be put in safe quarters. They're like the tiger is made of concrete block. The rainforest is brick. So we can take animals that can be in danger and move them into safety areas like the animal care center. We have generators on most of the major buildings that in case the power goes out, the generators will kick on and keep the life support systems going. We have movable generators that also can be set up in any location and plugged into buildings, again, if we have to, for an extended period of time. And the last few years, we've been seeing our share of these quote unquote disasters with blizzards and hurricanes coming through the zoo and storms. We have had, I think, 2 this year that were pretty substantial. Luckily, none of the habitats were damaged. None of the animals were hurt. Some of the trees were taken down. But again, our staff drills on this and then is prepared really for as much as we can when we have a disaster like this. For as much as we can, we make sure all the animals are in safe conditions. And again, knock on wood, we've not had any casualties with our animals in the years that I can remember for a storm. That blizzard that we had was the one that was probably about 5-6 years ago now. And yeah, people, I couldn't get out of my house for 4 or 5 days. But we had staff that knew the storm was coming in. They stayed at a staff member's house that was just around the corner, and they were able to trudge into the zoo to make sure the animals were taken care of and stay there for the time being while we were trying to get into the zoo. Now we have it set up to where we can't have the staff stay on grounds. We can set them up in case of a storm. They can stay overnight and be prepared if nobody can get in for a few days. They will be staying there on grounds.
Have you ever had an animal escape?
Yes, we've had animal escapes.
Only because you said, yeah. Oh, look. Oh my gosh. Andrew asked the exact question. How do you practice for animal escapes? Andrew, you and I'm telling you, man, we are on the same page. Yeah, we got to talk about animal escapes.
Have we had animal escapes? We've had animals that escaped, but not go on forever. These were not animals that escaped and go on forever. We've had one of the stories I have is when I was again probably 30 years ago, 35 years ago. Was coming into the zoo. Back then, you parked in the zoo. Some people remember you can actually drive through the zoo. The zoo streets are that wide because they were actually city streets. And we would open the gates and drive up to the zoo. We'd park up, like we said, by Lookout Point, and then staff would park there, and then guests would park there also. So one day I opened the gates, came in, drove up the hill to just get in. I was their first person in, and I came around the corner, and the entire bison herd was sitting in the road facing me, and I was driving up, and they were looking at me. It was kind of an impressive picture, though. Yeah, it was really kind of touching because the sun was behind them. It was late fall. The steam was coming off the road. The breaths of the animals were, seen with smoke coming out of them. They were all lined up. And I said, wow, that's a great picture. And the next thing was, oh my God, and turned around and went back and locked the gate to make sure nobody could get out. They had actually hit the fence and broke the lock and were able to get out. Duck a bucket, they walked right back in. No biggie. So that probably is the one I remember the most. We did have a tiger that did get loose, but it was inside the old burned mammal building house when they were kept in there for a while and never got out of the building and was safely captured. That was actually before I was director. It was actually before I believe I was a full-time staff person. But I do remember that day quite vividly. Now, how do we practice for animal escape? Again, it's a drill. The staff will be told it's a drill because we want anybody, going and thinking it's really nasty. But we will say that a tiger has gotten loose. It'll be on the drill. We have a code red, tiger non-contained, which means dangerous animal out of the enclosure and is running. So we will then, all staff people have their book on what they're supposed to be doing. I have my job. Animal care has their job, development has their job, and we practice and we lock gates, we shut down. We go and get our mobilization equipment. We set up and we actually have somebody act as the animal. I was I think a wolf at one point. So I took the turn as a wolf running through the zoo. Our Jim Knox, I believe, last time was our tiger, actually dressed up in our stripes costume. So he actually looked like a tiger. And we drill. And that's really how it has to happen. You have to practice because there's so many different variables in this that every time we do this, we have the drill, and then we have somebody monitoring it. So we have monitors out there with clipboards and radio communication. At the end, they write it all down, and then we have a debrief and say, okay, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? How can we make it better? So again, it's a constant program.
Okay. And we have one more question. Julie says, who is your oldest current animal?
Oh, Julie. Probably looking at him right now again.
You're crazy.
It's our oldest current animal at the zoo is probably one of our condors, or Indian condors. It's probably Teresita. Teresita is, I think she's over, and again, sometimes the numbers go out of my head, but she's above in her late 50s, early 60s right now. So she is one of the oldest living animals at the zoo. One of her predecessors was Teo. Teo was 80 years old when he passed. 80 years, he was the oldest living condor under zoo care in the country. His stud book, I believe, was.
You're saying like 80 years, not like in dog years. You're saying like 80 years on this earth.
80
wow.
Years. Yeah. So we knew that because we could track back to his stud book number. And again, he would be the oldest living animal that we've had at the zoo. And again, one of the things you mentioned before, it's one of the things with staff, is one of the things you have to be a nerd to over time, is that we work with a living collection. We work with living animals. They do get old. They do get sick. They do die. And so staff, again, understands that. And even though it's painful, it's very understood. And again, we try to learn from that every time it happens. And to have, like I said, Teresita now has a princess is with her now. She's, I believe, in her 60s also, maybe. And so now we have the two animals kind of being together to be, keeping each other comfortable while they get into their golden years.
How old do they usually? Like how old do they usually?
Their normal longevity or estimated longevity is about 55 to 60 years old. In under human care, again, you have to understand that, again, we're trying to do the best for these animals, not only for their nutrition, not only for their conditions, their mental health. We also work with now. We also work with their, how they feel, which is one of the more difficult things to do with animals. How do you know really they're feeling? Our staff can. You can look at an animal and kind of understand. You kind of could see in that video that Rika was feeling that she wanted to get to me. But it's a process that we have to go through. And so, we know some of these animals are going to live an awful long time. We have to make sure that they've had the care for as many years as we have with them.
Well, Greg, you crushed it. Oh, no, we have one more. Let's see. Are all the animals on display through the winter time? Good question, Wyatt.
Yeah, the majority of the animals, since when we talked about years ago, we made a conscious decision to work with animals at the zoo that were either from North America, South America, or cold weather Asia. We didn't want to go to African species. We didn't want to go to warm weather Asia species. We really wanted to go with the animals that we knew we could take care of. We knew the size we could take care of. We knew the climate we could take care of, and our resources. So we had a bunch of things that we looked at to make sure that we could take care of these animals correctly. So during the wintertime, majority of animals stay outside. If they're in the rainforest, they're inside anyway. Very few animals are brought inside. Some will be brought inside if we have inclement weather, like an ice storm coming or a blizzard. They'll be brought inside for a short period of time to make sure they're safe. But the majority of the animals we have can weather our climate here. Even our alligators, as we mentioned before, alligators have a heated pool. And during the wintertime, they stay in that pool. And we keep it heated, we keep it filtered, and they just go into a quiet time. We don't feed them from now until probably April or May. They won't be fed. They'll just go into a sleep, a dormancy. They'll be moving around a little bit on a warm day, but they will go into stasis, and so they can be out all winter long. Again, making sure as long as the heating system is working fine. But again, most of the animals that we have stay outside. We are, again, this year was a difficult case where the rainforest couldn't be opened up. The research station couldn't be opened up. The carousel couldn't be opened up. We were really hoping that next year, as we get into 2021, we can get back to some sort of normalcy.
Greg, I think my last question for you would be, so obviously for tonight, the Endangered Species Gala, I want to end things, obviously before we talk about the auction again, donations and everything, I think you've given a bunch of concrete examples as to where the money goes and how the zoo has grown. And again, it's from donations and it's from the support of the community. But if we didn't do the work that you guys are talking about at the zoo, what would happen to these animals? And I'm not even just talking about the zoo animals, but in general, like endangered species. The whole reason we're here tonight is to protect these animals on a global scale, using the zoo as one of the outlets to do that. So could you talk a little bit about that before we wrap up?
Yeah, interesting question, Melissa. It's one of the things that we do. Again, our mission is conservation, education, guest experience, and research. Those are the four things that we really pin our work on at the zoo, and we do that to the best of our ability. That is the mantra of the accredited zoos and aquariums of the United States. Again, if you think about it in context, we only have 220 of us. That's it. Working with some of the most endangered species of animals on the planet, and our work is vital, not only for the day-to-day operation with the animal we have, but we're also working with animals in the wild. We're also working, like you said, on the reintroduction programs. We're also working with research programs to see how we can do better for animals. These are just all the programs. A lot of people don't, when we actually have a long discussion on what a zoo actually is, a zoo, an accredited zoo, people are actually pretty shocked sometimes because of all the things that we actually do, not just, come to the zoo on a Sunday afternoon and enjoy the outside, enjoy seeing the animals, grab a carousel ride and maybe something at the gift shop. We want you to do that, but really our deeper work is doing all these things, and we're trying to make an impact not only on myself or even yourself. Chase is really who I want to make an impact on. That's who we want to make an impact. Chase is who we want to make an impact on, because our youngsters, when they come to the zoo and see a tiger or see a leopard or see a wolf up close, an animal that's an endangered species, we want them to have an impact. We want them to learn about this. We want them to have a visceral feeling, because they're the ones that are going to be making those decisions down the road on the protections of these animals. We've seen this happen just now. We've seen where protections have been taken away from gray wolves. Protections have been taken away from red wolves. Environmental things have been taken away. Other heads are coming in there and saying, no, we don't want this. Now, are all these people have visited a zoo? Have they visited our zoo? We don't know that. But I'm going to take some credit that these people have had, just like I did when I was a youngster, came to the zoo and felt very strongly about it, and had that background working, not working, but going into the woods. So these things I think are vitally important. And that's, if anything else, I think that's where the zoo is the most important, is the next generation, the generation after that, is to get a feeling and then take that feeling and move it forward to helping our animals on our planet. Because if we help the animals on our planet, we're going to be helping ourselves also.
I will say Chase knows not to ever go into a tiger in enclosure, because they eat children. they just stalk them real hard.
You can do it once.
Okay, well, I won't tell him that, because he will definitely hold you to it.
Well, just one. You won't do it again. You won't do it again, though. All
Right. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Well, I do appreciate obviously being having you be put on the spot, Gregg Dancho, the executive
Well,
director, 40 years with the zoo. Amazing work that you've done, and I'm glad that you addressed anything about the zoo. And I do want to let people know at this point right now, we're just shy of $3,000, which is awesome. But the goal tonight is $10,000. So there are a few ways that you can give. You can donate directly online. You can give a donation. Any donation size is such a blessing to us. So thank you so much. So you can go and donate directly online. I do also want to remind folks, if you donate $100 or more, your name will be included on a plaque that's going to go up. There's a sign that's going to be going up at the zoo, and it's going to be Endangered Species Heroes. So you will be included on that sign that, again, is going to be going up for everyone to see. So if you donate at least $100 or more, your name will be included. Also, if you donate $250 or more, you're going to get this box that I've been talking about, the party box, that had all kinds of amazing goodies in there. I've already eaten half of them. Some really cool swag gifts from the zoo, like this amazing glass. They gave us 2 for me and my husband. Really cool coasters. Just some really neat stuff. Cookies with wolves on them. I mean, really, really cool stuff. So again, that's if you donate $250 or more. Also, if you donate, if you want to go to the silent auction, right now it's 7:45, so you've got like an hour and 15 and change. So if you want to go to the auction, there are a ton of different items on there. In fact, there you go. There's the link right there. If you want to bid, go to that link. I was just looking at the auction actually in a separate spot here, Greg, and there's some really cool stuff on there. There's some baskets, oil paintings. There's really beautiful photographs of like, I don't just the animals there. I don't know. There was some really cool stuff there.
I gotta tell you that that oil painting is breathtaking. You have it,
Yeah.
if you're not looking to bid on anything, take a look at it, guys. It is amazing. We had her. She took a photograph of Rika, a couple other photographs she took, and she produced that. Just amazing painting. It's just really stunning. And if you look on our Facebook page, you'll see that she has also been promoted on our Facebook page that she has a painting of Kawani, our red wolf, that is actually up for an international award. So again, just think about that. If you buy this now, you could have an international award-winning painter painting in your house. I just right there.
Yeah, that's so cool. And that it's a local animal, that it's one of our near and dear zoo animals. That's so cool.
Yeah, Bradley has a couple of photographs that, again, these guys take amazing photographs of our animals. You really
and Jack Bradley.
People really have to have a eye for that, because it's very difficult to take pictures of children and animals. I think WC feels it. No, working with
it's
but
it's hard.
Taking a picture is very difficult. So you have to have the eye for it. Him and Mel, his wife, have done a tremendous job, along with all of our Connecticut zoo photographers. If you go again, look on our Facebook page for all the wonderful pictures they've taken of our animals. It's again pretty spectacular.
And I will say, Jack and his wife are incredible. All of your photographers are so great. And if you don't already follow them on Facebook, like the CT, I think it's CT Beardsley Zoo Photographers, I think is the Facebook page. I let their photos fill up my entire Facebook feed, because it just makes me happy. Like first thing in the morning with everything else that's going on in the world, like just to see these beautiful photos of the animals. They do such a great job. So I would highly recommend people follow that page as well as obviously the zoo on Facebook. So yeah, Greg, so we are just wrapping up here. I want to obviously thank you and the whole team, the Beardsley Zoo team, Lisa, Jessica. I'm sure I'm missing people, but you all rock. You all are great.
Right back to you, Melissa. Thank you so very much for doing this. I couldn't pick a better person to do this. I like to do this live, though. I mean, not live. I like to do this in person. But again, thank you so very much. Not only for tonight, but for what we're doing with the Thursday Zoom Minute. Again, it really you don't really know how much that's helping us, and I really appreciate it.
Well, it's honestly, literally like don't tell, but it's one of my favorite segments. So it's fine. It's really fine. So if you skip out on me, I'll be upset with you, but I'm not taking that off the show. It's one of the fan favorites. So thank you guys. I was super grateful and blessed to be emceeing this event. Again, just a quick reminder to all of you, the auction is only open until 9 o'clock, so make sure you get those bids in right now. Don't waste another minute. We are shy of getting that $10,000, which is our goal for this evening, so please help us out. Thank you to everyone who's donated and has been a part of the Endangered Species Gala. I know it's been a little weird. It's a little different, as Greg and I just mentioned. We'd love to do this in person and hug each and every one of you, but at least we have this really cool platform. I mean, I've never emceed a gala virtually. This is really cool. So it was a neat experience. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. It was an amazing evening. And again, go to the auction. You can also donate online. Honestly, even past tonight, you guys can donate online, and we so appreciate it. Thank you, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.